Hi everyone, Alexis Brooks here from Higher Journeys. So glad you're joining me today. Well, today I've got kind of a special episode of conscious commentary. We're going to be doing Higher Journeys later on in the week or next week, but I wanted to make sure. I've been wanting to share a story with you for quite some time, and I thought this would be a great time to do it. Reason being, in part, that this particular episode is sponsored by our friends at Keen, the world's largest, and I'm going to add, most accurate network of spiritual advisors, and you are about to find out why. You know, I have long been fascinated, I think it'll be no surprise to you, with the whole idea of intuitive capacity and psychic ability. We know that particularly the term psychic has been somewhat stigmatized, over the years for a myriad of reasons. But I think y'all know out there, and you know I certainly feel that there is a very real phenomenon that we all have a tinge of, this ability to tap in to some otherwise unknown space and procure information. And I'm going to sort of use that to kind of level set the conversation for the story that I want to share with you, because it's so exciting. And it does have to do with our sponsor, Keen. Moreover, one of the psychics that I got a reading with at Keen. Now, you know, full disclosure here, Keen and I have been working together for a little while, and I think they're a fantastic network. I was not that familiar with them prior to me being approached by them, but quickly learned about their incredible network. It's quite vast, and in the course of my working with them, I was able to get a reading with one of the Keen psychics, and this is what the story is about. True story, and I'm about to tell you, so here goes. This was back in April of 2020, where Keen was sponsoring an episode, and I agreed to get a bit of a reading so I could get a little bit more insight into how their network works, and of course how their process works in terms of the reading itself. So indeed I did. I got about a 10 or so minute reading, maybe 15 minutes. Very nice gentleman, very talkative and willing to listen. I didn't talk too much. I wanted to just get some insight from him, some very broad insight, but insight nonetheless. And so he said to me, Alexis, I want you to get a piece of paper and a pen and write a few things down. I said, sure, no problem. And he proceeded to tell me a number of things. I'm not going to go into all of them, obviously, but there's one in particular that I do want to share with you. That's stunning to me. He says, Alexis, you know, I see you on a network television show. I said, I didn't say anything, actually. I just kind of nodded my head silently. He says, you know, have you ever heard of the show Celebrity Ghost Stories? It's been quite a few years since it's been on, but have you heard of it? I said, of course I have. As a matter of fact, I loved that show. I thought it was one of the best series out there on the paranormal subject matter. He says, well, it's like that. It's kind of like that. It's going to be dealing with the paranormal, parapsychology, ghost stories, things like that. History Channel, he says. Truth. A&E, History Channel. Are you writing this down? I said, yeah, I'm writing it down. Meanwhile, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, what's he doing here? What's going on? Now, I'm going to get into this a little bit later, but the bottom line is, this is the gist of the story. The bottom line is, guys, for those of you that don't know, not 3 months later, I want to say roughly 3 months later, it was August, I want to say, where I was indeed contacted by the History Channel after a series of back and forth conversations with the team there and the executive producer and so forth. Yours truly, as you probably know by now, was brought on as a subject matter expert for the still new series, The Proof is Out There. We actually just finished wrapping up season 1, and it's been quite a ride. This is not about The Proof is Out There, although I hope you have had a chance to see, and if not, you can still watch it on demand, even though we've wrapped up season 1. The bottom line is, this psychic nailed it. He nailed it. He didn't just say, I see you on a network television show. He didn't just say, I see you doing TV one day. He said, I see you on a network TV show in similar format to Celebrity Ghost Stories. It's the History Channel. It's A&E. Now, guys, I have looked all over the place for the piece of paper that I know I still have where I wrote that down. And it wasn't until I actually got the nod from the History Channel. I did not pursue them. They, in fact, pursued me quite voraciously, I might add. But it wasn't until after I took that call, had a meeting, my initial meeting with Miguel Sancho, the executive producer, where I remembered, I said, my God, didn't that gentleman tell me that I would be involved with a television program on the History Channel? Well, lo and behold, I was able to put my hands on that piece of paper, and indeed it did say, it scribbled very, very, I think the pen was about to run out, History Channel /A&E. So there you go. Now, you know, this is the work that I do, right? Researching this broad spectrum of reality, how it works, how we plug into it, what is reality, what is the true nature of reality all about? And this, of course, includes the idea that we can procure information from, let's just call it loosely, the unseen realms. But that doesn't mean, even though I've been researching this field a long time and many different aspects of it, and quite complex, not just on a surface level, but even from a quasi-scientific perspective, that doesn't mean that I never cease to be amazed, particularly when someone is so lucid and so clear about what they see happening for a particular person. In this case, it was me, which was clear. Now, I want to say, first of all, there are three aspects that I'd like to bring up in terms of the question you ask is, well, what is happening here? How do they know, right? Even I had to say, what is it that is allowing this connection to take place between the psychic, me, who, by the way, was remote. We weren't in each other's presence. This was a phone conversation, and the scenario that would invariably play out. So I want to go into that. But before we do, I think this would be a good time to give you a little bit more information about Keen so you can hook into what I hooked into. It was all good. So let's take a look at this. I'll be right back, and then we're going to get into some of the things that ran through my mind as I got this insight. Okay? We'll be right back. Hi, everyone. Alexis Brooks here from Higher Journeys. As you all know, we are living at a time of profound uncertainty, not only for our planet, but especially for ourselves individually. Like you, I wanted to get a heads up as to what the future holds for me. And so I turned to a trusted psychic advisor from a network that I'd like to introduce to you. Keen is the world's largest online network of spiritual advisors, providing quality psychic advice, love and relationship advice, and tarot readings since 1999. I have to tell you, my experience with Keen was unlike any I've had before. And believe me, with the work that I do, I've come across many psychics on my own higher journey. The moment I arrived on the Keen portal, I was blown away by how seamless and user-friendly the site is. Virtually every aspect of your life questions can be answered by one of the many advisors in their network. I chose an advisor who could share some insight on my career path and what's next for higher journeys. Hands down, this individual was not only caring, enthusiastic, and, by the way, really cool. He, shall I say, nailed it for me on so many levels. Not only did he give me what I would say is spot on for what I'd like to do, he spoke about my past as if he knew what I'd already done. This is one conversation that I won't soon forget. Speaking of conversations, Keen has enabled nearly 50 million conversations to date. Again, whether you're looking for advice on your career, your love life, or you're simply looking for guidance during these uncertain times, Keen's trusted advisors are here to help, just like they helped me. And get this, they are available 24/7 by phone or chat, or you can download the Keen app by visiting trykeen.com/higher journeys. That's TRYKEEN.com/HIGHERJOURNEYS. When I wrapped up my session with my Keen advisor, I couldn't wait to set up my next session with him, and so I did. When you find the right advisor, developing an ongoing relationship leads to a number of benefits, including monthly intention setting, gaining clarity on the significance of synchronicities, which you know I love to talk about, chakra clearing. There are so many ways your advisor can assist you as you gain insight about your future and your well-being. And here's the best part. You can find an advisor who are priced as low as $1.99 per minute, some of the lowest prices in the industry. Now, here's my suggestion. When you finish listening to our show today, head on over to Keen to get my special offer by visiting the site using my link, trykeen.com/higher journeys. That's TRYKEEN.com/higher journeys. Members of our listening audience can get their first 10-minute reading for only $1.99 using my link, trykeen.com/higher journeys. Thanks, Keen, for sponsoring this episode of Higher Journeys and for making me your newest fan. In 2 words, I'm hooked. And I guarantee, journeyers, you will be too. How was he so accurate? You have to ask yourself. We still don't know exactly. We don't know for sure what's going on, but many of us in the field of research have looked at some ideas of what may be taking place that allows an individual to connect, particularly with the discarnate world. We often, when we think of psychic readings and mediumship, we think of connecting with what we loosely call the spirit realm or the other side. But of course, there are other things that we're connecting with. It's not necessarily readings about lost loved ones, but in this case, career or relationships, whatever the case may be. But I want to give you 3 things. I actually wrote this down that I want to, that anybody, I think, would probably, when they're going through the process of evaluating, okay, what just happened here? A, was this a lucky guess? Now, look, this does come up. And it came up very, very briefly. I wouldn't say lucky guess for me. The question that I had for myself is, does he know, first of all, did he know that Keen would be sponsoring my show? And therefore, does he know that I am a journalist in this field? And could he have kind of put it together and maybe told me something that I wanted to hear? And then I realized, well, actually, I think I said something to him after the fact that made me realize, no, he didn't know. He didn't know. And as a matter of fact, the way the Keen system is set up, they don't have any background on you, and I didn't tell him. So no, he didn't know. So I had to rule that out. It was not him telling me what I wanted to hear. So it fit, the scenario fit perfectly. I mean, something as specific as I see you on a network television show and on a show that covers the paranormal is not something you would say to anybody. So clearly I had to get that out of the way. The second thing that came up to me was, okay, was he reading my energy field? Now, when we think about someone reading another individual's energy field, you would think that they would be in some physical proximity to the person, where there are people that are able to sort of read the auric field around an individual. So I couldn't really say that that's the case, because this, of course, was a remote reading. But that's not to say that an aura cannot be read remotely. Now, the reason why I bring that up as a possibility is because within our own energy field, it is felt that we carry all of the information, particularly emotional information, how we're feeling at the time, aspirations, fears, you name it, it's all there. And so perhaps a good psychic or an accurate psychic is able to tap into that field and procure from it, from your own energy field. So that is a possibility. Now, the reason why I say could that be what he was picking up, which I think is amazing in and of itself. But full disclosure, once again, I had thought about the idea at some point, maybe putting together an idea for a docu-series on network television having to do with some aspect of what I research, not the least of which is the field of parapsychology. I hadn't pursued it. I hadn't really obsessed about it, but I had thought about it. And so I said, well, maybe he's picking up on that aspiration of mine and, telling me what I want to hear once again. But I somehow didn't feel that was the case. I said, okay, I'm going to really just because again, look, guys, even with someone like myself, and probably many of you that are open-minded to these sorts of things, when something that stunning and that really specific happens, you don't just say, oh my God, it's magic. He did it. He did it. I, like many other people, I consider myself a pragmatist. And so I had to go through that process of elimination. Could it have been this? Could it have been that? Could it have been this? At the end of the day, I came up with, I think it was just a pretty strong possibility for the unfoldment of my future that perhaps he tapped into. But I want to give you one more that I wrote down here, and that has to do with the power of suggestion. We've all heard it. I think that we all are in some ways under its influence, where information will be given either directly or even subconsciously. And once that information has been received by you, the individual, at some level, is our own consciousness playing a role in creating the reality because the seed has been planted. Now, this is a very slippery slope when we talk about this, because it's almost like what came first, the chicken or the egg? I think I've talked about this when it comes to synchronicity and precognition, and how do we know what is synchronicity and what we may have actually presaged on our own. You know, thinking of a person and the person calls, that's considered a classic synchronicity, a person that you haven't heard from in a long time, and all of a sudden they call. Well, the question becomes, is it truly a synchronicity where you were in sync with that individual and the two coalesced and the person called, or just by virtue of you thinking the person did that trigger the event of them calling? Without going into a long story there, I do think it's worth considering that when a piece of information is given to you, and it could be something that, I don't know, if somebody made up, not conjured up, but let's say it were something, that somebody made up that they wanted to tell you, knowing that you have the power to manifest the reality that they're telling you. Again, I don't think this is the case, but it's something that I've always wondered. When you're given a suggestion, when you're told something, do you then play a role in manifesting the reality, having it play out in the physical world? The bottom line is I ruled that out. I absolutely ruled that out, because I really just felt, and I recall the conversation with this gentleman, and I wish I could get a hold of him again. And as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to have to do another reading with Keen and see if I can find this gentleman, because I would love to let him know, dude, look what happened. This is what happened. It's amazing. I do believe the folks at Keen are aware of it. So just so you know, I highly recommend them. There are good psychics out there, and I believe they've got probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, repository of those individuals. So it's fairly cool, guys. It's still stunning to me. You know, shortly after the deal was made between myself and the History Channel to do proof, I couldn't talk about it, obviously. I shared it with a close friend or two, but no details that would breach any confidentiality. But I'll tell you one thing I did tell them, and that was about this reading and how stunning it was. And I actually showed them the piece of paper. Darn, I wish I had that piece of paper to show you right now, because and you know what, if I can find it, I've got so much paperwork. I'm a copious note taker. I got notes everywhere. So if I do find it, I'll show it to you. Next show, maybe I'll bring it up and show it to you. But we all agreed that regardless of how much I have a strong conviction that what we call psychic ability is a very real phenomenon. I believe that we all possess at least a tinge of it. But when a reading commences that is so specific and indeed plays out, I mean, he said, History Channel, A&E Network, boom, God's truth. And it happens. What can you say? What can you say? So that's it. That's the story I wanted to share with you. Hey, listen, speaking of which, I've been like all over this lately. I've been really, there's so much more to be discovered about our capability, our capacity, and most importantly, how it works. And so I decided to write a bit of an article about it. I've written about the psychic phenomena, but go on over to higherjourneys.com. In fact, I'll put a link to the article that I wrote called The Accurate Psychic. How are they really plugging it? How are they doing it? Now, in this particular article, I go into some of the ideas really kind of surrounding the whole idea of the unified field, the Akashic field, the field it's known broadly as. Is this the place where psychics go to procure information? It's a good article, lots of references there. So go on over to higherjourneys.com, check it out, and give me your thoughts, whether you put them here in YouTube. I know this is going to be out on the audio podcast as well, wherever you decide to, or the blog post itself. Let me know what you think. And give me your feedback on this little story that I shared with you. And by all means, check out Keen, y'all. Get a reading. And after you do, reach out to me and let me know what happened to you. All right? I think that's it. Again, I want to thank Keen for sponsoring this episode and really for connecting me with this lovely gentleman. Wherever you are, sir, I want to thank you and keep up the good work, doing your thing, connecting, because it's happening for real. All right, everyone. I'll talk to you soon. We'll see you soon for Higher Journeys with my next guest, who I think I'm going to keep a secret for now. A little bit of a hint. It has something to do with the History Channel. Shh, I'll leave it there. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.